No, we probably didn't need a fifth one on the NES. Mega Man 5 gets some hate from the classic series fans, but you can't call this a bad game. The primary complaint is that this doesn't feel like a Mega Man game. Let's dive in and see what that's about. I've enjoyed playing every Mega Man game so far, and this was no exception. I was already aware of the fan disdain for this game, but when I started playing for myself, I was treated to Mega Man's best controls ever. This is something I've always praised, and now it's been perfected. Crispy clean jumping and sliding controls, and on top of that, the screen transitions are smoothed out and there's very little lag across the game. The Charged Buster is also back, although there are no new moves to try out in this game. I understand the disappointment there, and I question whether Capcom had already achieved everything they could for this series on the NES. Maybe it was time to jump into the 16-bit world instead. The story this time around is a more intriguing one. After a quiet couple of months since his last battle with Dr. Wily, Mega Man is called into action again when his creator Dr. Light is kidnapped. Already alarmed by this, he discovers that 8 more Robot Masters are on the loose, and the culprit is Proto Man, your brother. This should make players eager to see more. The core of the gameplay is exactly the same, of course. Visit the Robot Master stages in any order and earn their special weapons as you defeat them. There's an optimal order for playing them if you want to use the best weapons against each boss, and this order gets more ridiculous in every game. Obviously, Crystal Man can't stand the gyro attack, for example. Everyone knows that. Visiting Gravity Man after Starman is the only part of the chain that somewhat makes sense, and funnily enough, that's where we'll start. While gravity isn't a part of his name, it's still a factor of Starman's stage because there's less of it. Mega Man can jump higher, and some of the challenges as he goes through the space station will require precision in not jumping too high. The best example of this is an optional challenge. Just under some spikes is a token with the letter M, and 1 letter is found in each of these initial stages. In the weapons menu, you'll see that this spells out Mega Man 5, and I'll mention what this does later. As a whole, the stage structure is fairly simple but challenging. It feels like a Mega Man stage to me, and it's once again more beautiful than the previous game. The music track here is up for debate, and my opinion is that I don't mind it. However, the music is the first thing I noticed that didn't feel like Mega Man. The sound quality is significantly better than in the previous game, but the music doesn't have the upbeat nature or urgency that I expect from the series. All the compositions are great, just a little too mellow in most cases. Now, although there are no new moves to use, the Charged Buster's modification is somewhat controversial. It may just be too powerful. It certainly makes the other weapons feel less powerful, and it doesn't help that the selection of Robot Master weapons is underwhelming to begin with. The fight with Starman is a good example of all this. Since this was my first stage, I only had the Buster available. Fortunately, a fully charged shot deals as much damage as any Robot Master's weakness would. If the default weapon can be that powerful, you have to wonder if using the special weapons is worth it. Sometimes it's genuinely easier to stick with a Charge Buster, but its penalty is that it takes time to charge, which makes other weapons easier to use for some fights. Defeating Starman unlocks the Star Crash, which is the series' 3rd shield weapon. It's not easy to be excited about that. This also unlocks the bonus item, the Super Arrow, which technically is a weapon, while it's more commonly used as an extra platform. It's important to evaluate how the weakness chain flows together, so despite the incredible power of the Buster, I went to Gravity Man's stage next. I wish I had more to say about the stage other than sometimes gravity has you walking on the ceiling. The gimmick is intriguing, but all of the enemies paired with it are underwhelming. Gravity Man himself was hard to keep up with. He likes to reverse gravity, only he's pulled in the opposite direction to you. Since his weakness is a shield weapon, it seems like the best strategy is to get as close as possible when he flips gravity. Alternatively, you can launch the Star Crash slowly towards a target, which is not helpful when that target is fast. The Gravity Hold is not a typical weapon. It's intended as a screen-clearing function that sends enemies up into space, and it depletes quickly. In reality, it only works on the weakest enemies, and there's hardly any place in the game that I would use it. None of the big enemies are affected by it except for Gyro Man. He doesn't get whisked away, but he doesn't have to be anywhere near Mega Man to get hurt by the weapon. Even when he's hiding behind the cloud, he takes damage, which was a missed opportunity to add more challenge to the fight. Okay, let's talk about it. The real reason people call this a bad Mega Man game is because it's not difficult enough. The combination of the powerful Charged Buster and overall easier enemies is unappealing to longtime fans. Series director Keiji Inafune actually wanted this game to be easier so more people would play it, and that arguably goes against what the entire series is about. As well as toning down the general difficulty, the chance of collecting 1-ups from enemies has significantly increased to help avoid game overs. I personally like that there's a game specifically meant for more people, and because of how perfectly it controls, this is a great point to start playing the series. I think it would have been better had it not been part of the numbered series though. It would have made more sense to make Mega Man 5 on the SNES instead, and continue with the expected difficulty there. Some of the stages feel a little empty too. I see the point of the elevator at the beginning of Gyro Man stage. There's a different tricky elevator section in the second half. However, the opening section has nothing that can hurt you for an extended period of time. Then you move on to Crystal Man, whose stage consists of repetitive enemies and obstacles. The crystal droppers can be the most frustrating thing in the game if you don't know how to deal with them, and there are a lot of them. I figured out that if you jump through immediately after a crystal falls, you'll be safe no matter what speed the next one drops. Who would be vulnerable to the Crystal Eye, a weapon that doesn't look like a cool crystal? Obviously Napalm Man. This is a real Robot Master that happened once. His stage opens up with a bunch of tigers who can be taken out in one charged buster shot and are a pain otherwise. This is a really weird theme for a Robot Master in the first place, and they made it weirder by essentially theming it around Vietnam with the enemies and scenery like palm trees. It doesn't ruin the game and isn't affecting my score, but this was probably not okay from Capcom. And guess what? Napalm Man's weapon is the Napalm Bomb. I actually found this useful in certain cases outside of bosses though. You can drop it on enemies from above if it's not safe to fall from a ladder, for example. Stone Man's stage is admittedly a boring theme, and that's probably why it gets overlooked. To me, the stage was refreshing. It has a couple hidden rooms, and one of them is hiding the letter token. Most of all though, it felt like a classic Mega Man level. Charge Man stage is another standout in the game, taking place on a moving train. And Wave Man has nice music. The stage says it's not like the other girls, and it's definitely right about that. That didn't lead to success here, sadly. Following a lackluster beginning, there's a cool section ascending by using bubbles, but there's too much downtime during this. The entire second half is an auto-scroller with enemies that can appear from either side of the screen. Having them come from the left is bad design, and it's split up by a mini-boss. This might be the only mini-boss of the game. Actually, I don't mind this part of the stage. Now that wraps up all of the initial stages, but I also need to mention the weapons from the last 3 Robot Masters. Yeah, they're bad and there's no sugarcoating it. The movement of the Power Stone makes it one of the dumbest weapons I've encountered in the series. I hated using it against Charge Man, and yet I found some other applications for it, such as when trapped on a ladder with a big enemy waiting above. Charge Man should be the one with a charged buster. It's in the name, and limiting this ability genuinely would have made the game better. Their decision was instead to give you the charge kick, meaning your slide move now damages enemies. That's a neat idea, but you're almost always going to take damage from the enemies at the same time. They made a mini train robot who didn't kick, then decided an appropriate name would be Charge Man and his weapon would be something he doesn't use himself. As for the Water Wave, it's a slow-moving grounded weapon, so it's very situational. Quick reminder, this game isn't bad. This game is in fact good. I am nitpicking, and at the end of the day, I will still be more generous to this game than many other fans. It's easy to be critical about things that are different, and the good news is we're done with the first half of the game. More good news is that the difficulty curve is just right. Proto Man built a castle with a giant replica of his helmet on top, screaming about how evil he is. He's definitely not being framed or anything. There are some repetitive enemy uses again, with the tigers returning in both the first and second Proto Man stages, but all in all this felt exactly like stages should when you're getting close to the end of the game. This castle has 4 stages to get through, and the first 3 all end with a similar looking boss. He starts out rather boring, but by the third encounter he has a dangerous weapon that freezes Mega Man in place. The final stage is short and contains no enemies. Instead, you have to climb up a tower by making the tower fall down and avoid getting crushed. There's Proto Man at the top. That iconic whistle doesn't sound right. That's because it never was Proto Man. The real Proto Man swoops in to save you, and fortunately he's already rescued Dr. Light. The imposter turns out to be the same robot from the other stages, Dark Man. This fight is really difficult, and the best weapon to take care of him is Beat, a new companion. This is your prize for collecting the letter tokens in the Robot Master stages. Beat is a bird shaped like Mega Man's helmet and pecks away at any danger on the screen, limited by the energy bar like every weapon. And with that, the game is not over. My goodness, it was Dr. Wily all along. He shows off his pristine eyebrows, and Mega Man follows him into yet another castle. 4 more stages to go, and then the game really will be over. The difficulty gradually increases more while keeping a good balance. The thing is, Wily's 5th Castle has a bad habit of reusing challenges from older games and making them worse. The trash compactor from Dustman stage makes a not so grand return, for instance. In good news, these bosses are easily the most interesting ones in the game. I don't understand the etymology behind big pets, but this towering robot has a very interactive battle. You need to take advantage of his spiky segmented body to jump up and hit his face. Finally, as is tradition, you must take out all of the Robot Masters again, followed by multiple contraptions piloted by Wily. These events are generously split into 2 stages, and if you have an M-Tank stored, it's a good idea to activate it at the beginning. This is a brand new item similar to the E-Tank, and only one can be stored at a time. Instead of refilling your health, it refills every weapon's energy, which is crucial for the finale. Or you could just take a game over to restore everything anyway. I was nitpicking a lot about the main portion of the game, but I have to say this is the strongest sequence of final battles with Wily. He has 3 different forms, 1 after the Robot Master refights and 2 in the final stage. That may sound excessive, but it didn't feel that way. They all function differently to each other and are intense while remaining balanced. Are you sensing a theme? I'm not sure if all Mega Man enthusiasts would be as enthusiastic about this ending as I am, since I recognize that this was affected by the decision to make the game easier. I just think that decision was much better for the endgame than the main portion. You'll also struggle with the final boss if you don't have access to Beat. Naturally though, Wily escapes at the end because he has to cause another game. Looking at the whole game, I am disappointed that it's a step down from Mega Man 4. I wonder if I would see this game differently if it had been made by different developers in an independent franchise. I think it still feels like a Mega Man game. Did we need it though? As someone who wasn't around for the release, I would call this a skippable game if I were to revisit the classic titles. However, I'm glad I played through it once. Therefore, my final score for Mega Man 5 will be 7.5 out of 10. As alluded to earlier, this is a good entry point into the series and I can recommend it for beginners. It's still hard enough to catch you out several times, of course. Mega Man 2 featured an easier difficulty mode outside of Japan, but Mega Man 5's easy by default difficulty is more polished, especially in the endgame. Experienced players won't miss much if they don't play this game, but this is still a good game to try regardless. And guess what? It's available in the Mega Man Anniversary Collection and Mega Man Legacy Collection. Critics of the time were unsurprisingly also waiting for Mega Man to go 16-bit. Famitsu's harsh treatment of the Blue Bomber continued with an average score of only 5.75 out of 10. Back then, these games were more popular in the US, where Nintendo Power featured an 8-page preview. Their Power rankings gave Mega Man 5 a total of 15.5 out of 20. Electronic Gaming Monthly's panel had varying opinions, resulting in an average of 7.75 out of 10. Their scores were slowly declining as the series went on. Tell me, did you agree with the points I've made? What rating would you give Mega Man 5 for the NES, initially released in 1992? Hit the like button with better accuracy than the Power Stone, and subscribe for Wily's eyebrows to level up higher. As ever, thank you for watching, and please continue to be your own unique self. Prove me wrong. Like, why aren't you using Waterwave, idiot?